So back to the Trump campaign and, his chances for winning, it seems as though he's about to be headed toward a difficult struggle because Republicans spent all that time making sure that age was the issue in the 2024 election. And now he's the old man at the club. And it appears as though, I don't even think the media knows how to handle the situation they're in with how they cover his age and his mental acuity and the possibility that he might be experiencing some cognitive decline. I mean, if you've been watching his rallies for the last 4 years, the way that I have, that's absolutely a fact. But yeah, here's a clip of MSNBC being confronted with the fact that age is now an issue for the Republican Party.
Her winning the presidency, this country having an adult in the White House in 2025, that's all that matters.
And the age issue is off the table.
For our party.
What? I mean,
she didn't even know what to say. She was shook. She was like, "Well, damn, how are we gonna talk about age now that it's the Trump's problem?"
She's like, "Give me a minute. I just woke up from a nap."
Yeah, she was also experiencing some cognitive decline there. So probably time for her to wrap up her career. If Biden could see the writing on the wall and decided to step down, so can Andrea Mitchell. But yeah, Trump's old and his speeches are getting wackier and wackier, which is a lot considering the nature of his speeches. They typically go off the rails all the time, especially when he, kind of freelances up there.
Yes.
Gets away from
when he talks about the late great Charles Manson. No, he's actually dead, right?
Yeah, he's no longer.
Is he dead? You know what? I had to ask myself that question too. I was like, because there are a lot of people I thought were dead. And David Duke comes to mind, but
still rolling.
You find out they're not, and you're like, oh,
he died in 2017.
Yeah, no longer with us. But he does, constantly fantasize about another serial killer. This one, a little bit more fictional, than the guy who was eating people. Well, no, I guess Hannibal Lecter is also eating people. But we'll play a clip for you from a recent campaign rally of Trump's talking about Hannibal Lecter yet again. I don't know what the fucking obsession is.
From prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums. They go crazy when I mention Dr. Hannibal Lecter. You know who that was? They say, why does he keep mentioning Hannibal Lecter? Well, you see, he was a slightly troubled patient in an insane asylum, and he'd love to have you for dinner, you right there. He'd love to have you for dinner. But I mention him because we have people like that coming into our country. They're closing their insane asylums all over the world.
Yeah.
In all fairness, Hannibal Lecter was a diabolical genius. He was a doctor. He was educated. He was world traveled.
Psychologist.
So yes. So
yeah, but
he was good with the ladies.
A great chef.
Well, I'm sure women
You're into that.
love a man that'll eat them properly, but not in Hannibal Lecter fashion.
And he didn't Clarice kind of have a thing for him and like a fear-love relationship?
It was a weird sexual chemistry going on between her and a psychopath.
And he wasn't killing her yet. Well, I guess he was in prison.
Anyway, he would have. But yeah, so we might have talked about this, but it's apparent that Trump believes that because immigrants are coming here seeking asylum, that he doesn't actually know that there are multiple definitions of asylum. So he thinks they've been released from insane asylums in their countries of origin, and they're being freed to come here, but not knowing that asylum is just basically seeking, a refugee status.
You know what? I didn't even put that part together. I just thought, but asylum. Oh. So, yes, that makes so much more sense now.
He's been talking about Hannibal Lecter and asylums for 2 years now. And apparently no one told him, read the fucking dictionary if he can even read.
They are seeking asylum,
not being
they're
released.
not asylum seekers, even out of the asylum seekers.
I see. I thought that he was suggesting that all the crazy people were coming here because
They're seeking asylum. Yes, if anyone needs to be put in an asylum, it's Trump at this point. Also, there's just a funny incident of how Republicans are faring at this point. They had a difficult issue at the Trump rally last week where they showed up and they parked, and I believe they were told they couldn't parking lot. They chose to anyway, and after the rally, they came back and their cars were gone.
Some of the people here even gave money to the people inside.
Now, to get their cars back, they've got to pay hundreds of dollars to the towing company. I called Gotcha Towing, the group responsible for pulling the cars out of the lot. They told me over the phone there was a sign warning people illegally parked cars would be removed. They also said the manager at the Dunkin' contacted them, asking them to pull the vehicles off their property. They told me the only way people could get their cars tonight was to pay the $380 towing fee, then abruptly hung up.
But something very fishy is going on because I've never seen this happen before.
Josh Mower says he went to confront the Dunkin' manager and claims they locked the doors on him and refused to come out.
And all of our cars are gone, the whole parking lot, everybody's. And then they lock the door, they won't answer the calls, and they won't even answer at the window.
Well, yeah, because you're a mob. No answer. An angry mob coming in.
Property.
Hey,
what I mean?
You know how fucked up you got to feel to show up for a Klan rally and you come back and your car ain't there? Like, what the fuck happened?
And that's almost $400 per person. Boy, they made a grip that day.
Yeah, they made a killing.
But the thing is, they might not have always had it, but with the rally going like, hey, don't fill up our parking lots. This is private property. You will be towed. If you park here, park elsewhere. But the way they made it seem like they were owed an explanation, bro.
Well, they claimed you can see my beautiful hair, son.
We like what you've done with your hair.
They claimed that they were told they could park there. Even that clip, they said that some of the employees at Dunkin' Donuts took money from them.
And they got. Sorry.
It happens, bro.
Why didn't they just park at the stadium or the empty fields? Where was this? Usually it's like a field.
I don't know why they didn't park.
If it's really muddy, you don't have to pay.
And it was near the Coliseum, and my friend David, he was like, my wife and I were trying to figure out where. He was like, everybody knows you can't park at Donuts. Everybody knows.
Nah, that was crazy.
Everybody knows.
Dunkin' Donuts, like that's not a thing. No.
Well, why would they think that Dunkin' Donuts would be fine with their entire parking lot being monopolized by non-customers?
And just giving your money to random employees. Did you think that they were valet parkers and they were going to stand out there during the whole rally and watch your car?
You know what this was a case of? And I talk about this with other black people. It's white entitlement. They just think they're entitled to everything.
That's exactly what I said. Exactly. Because
okay, you say that, but on the other hand, where the fuck is my car?
If I had showed up on one of their own properties,
I said white entitlement.
I probably would have been shot.
Not white car entitlement.
In your ground. So
yeah, no, it's just funny because there's this lady that works at this high-rise apartments at the desk, and so they keep the front door locked, and she's got to hit the button to open the door, and they get a lot of food service deliveries and whatnot. And one of the common themes is, so maybe a black person will show up and they'll pull on the door and they'll see it's locked and they'll just stand there and wait until the lady opens the door. And then you have a white person show up, pull on the door, see it's locked, and they'll just keep pulling on the fucking door because it's just it's a microcosm of, too many white people in the world believing that every door should just literally open up for them, literally.
Should be unlocked.
Yep. And this is the same thing with parking in the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot and wondering why your car disappeared, even though you probably should have known you can't park on private property for an event like that, unless there's a sign that explicitly says so. But yeah, that's what they get.
When I lived in Florida, I lived right around the corner from the Gators Stadium. And the Gators, they closed down the whole city for homecoming. So there's limited parking.
Yeah.
So you'll see people put signs on their yard. And they're parking, they're letting you know you can park here.
$20
if I don't see a sign, I'm
Not
not
parking
going to
there.
park there
Right.
and assume that they're going to just be okay because the neighbor's okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they'll be out there and they'll have their sign, and they may only have spot for like 2 or 3 cars in their driveway or whatever in their yard.
Yeah.
And they'll charge like $40. But they're only getting 3 cars, eat 2, But yeah, but if I don't see a sign, it's like, okay, I'm going to just keep driving around the street, or if everything is like full, but they let you know because it's private property. Period.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of how Republican voters are taking this, newly excited Democratic Party and our brand new candidate and Kamala Harris, I think they held a panel with a few of Trump supporters who happen to be white women, and they were
Clarence
sharing
of Wisconsin.
Yeah, they were sharing their thoughts. They didn't seem too particularly pleased about the idea of having Trump's opposition be Kamala Harris. Wait, where's that video?
So
what did I do with it?
Well, you know what?
Here
And
it
I
is.
don't think it's because Kamala's black. It's because they know he's going to lose to her. Because when Tim Scott was running, they weren't concerned.
Nah, but they have concerns, and you'll get to hear them here.
Do you think that having Vice President Kamala Harris as the nominee dramatically changes Donald Trump's odds of winning?
I'm worried about it.
Yes.
I think she's going to go for the minority and female and younger voters.
Progressive.
Everybody's excited about her,
Right.
and that scares me.
Again, those are Trump voters. Joe Biden won.
Yeah, you should be scared, lady. The black woman is coming. She's doing it up.
They went to the most stereotypical looking people who we think of MAGA.
Yes.
That was all.
Yeah.
There was no variety amongst any of them, even in size.
Nope.
They should have all looked around and been insulted, honestly.
I mean,
And I felt like, I don't know if they were like really trolling them to like pitting, like just like, because when people think about MAGA, that's what comes to their minds. And
No.
so, and I go, man,
yes,
like,
those women that were in that video, they look like whatever you believe your stereotypical MAGA supporter
yes.
looks like.
And yes, like whenever they stop a black guy on the street after a crime or a robbery or something, it's always the black guy that fits the stereotype of what they think an inner city black guy looks and talks like.
Yes, well, those women fit the description of Trump supporters. Now, obviously, I don't know if every white female Trump supporter shares that same sentiment, but if that could be a microcosm, and clearly they are worried about the possibility of Harris being able to take down Trump, and they should be. Like, let's be clear on this. Trump's a fucking loser. He lost in 2020 by a gazillion votes. He really lost in 2016 by, almost 3 million votes. He just happened to win because, the deck is stacked in terms of the electoral college for a bunch of small white states.
And I know a lot of people who lived in liberal states who felt they needed to vote their conscience with Jill Stein.
Well, yeah, it's unfortunate. Jill Stein received enough votes in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania in 2016 to flip the vote from Trump to Hillary Clinton. So we had an opportunity.
She ain't pulling that on Kamala.
No,
That's
we had
not-
an opportunity in 2016, and I think one of the things that's sticking around with Democratic voters this time around, it's that we don't live in a fucking vacuum, right? We don't, like, every election doesn't exist on its own outside of the context of all of the other previous elections. And because we saw what happened in 2016, and we saw, like, we were like this close, a lot of people have woken up since then and realize that their votes actually do matter, especially in valuable swing states. And they're not gonna take a chance. They're gonna show up, turn out, press that Harris button.
I was listening to somebody, because everyone's coming up with I don't know how they think that she can do this. I mean, she got the lowest when she was running in her primary in 2020. And I said, you know what? there's a very, very simple explanation for that.
Money.
For one, that was 4 years ago.
Well, that's
that was
not
before. That was before January 6th. That was before Project 2025. That was before, and literally 128 days.
Are you poking your microphone with your hands?
Tapping the
am I
table.
what?
She was tapping
I just hear a lot of tapping.
Oh no, I don't know, but maybe tapping.
She
myself.
animated, girl. She excited about this hair shit.
Sorry.
But I think that people, like, as the Project 2025 stuff started coming out, and that people started to get really afraid, and so it's a whole different. The past 4 years has really been a decade or a century.
Shit, past 8.
In where we are from then. And like I said, when she ran in 2020, Biden had that momentum building. That was going on. And like I said, that was before.
Let me stop you there. Biden didn't have the momentum building when her campaign was up and running, because that was in 2019. Nobody.
Well, after he was once, South Carolina and stuff or whatever.
So here's the thing. The reason why Harris had to drop out of the 2020 race, it wasn't because of public support. It's because she didn't have donors. She didn't have the money. Like, unless you're the front runner or like one of the top 2 candidates.
Well, that's true.
The biggest determination to whether your campaign continues isn't public support, it's money.
And there were 100 people in the primary.
Yeah, that too.
That was a thick Dem primary too.
If she had the money to stay in, she probably would have. And she probably would have been on. Yeah, she would have been on that debate stage in Arizona. In Las Vegas.
I think as far as the support goes, like the outside support or what people thought then and now, is I don't think in 2020 they really felt the threat. And then I said, there's so many things that have happened between the election. We had the big lie. We had January 6th. We had finding out all of these things about Trump. We had the indictments. We had this. And then, the support and the enthusiasm for Biden waning. I think it really
she gets to capitalize
shook people
on
out of their kind of la la land or whatever it is that they were in.
Well, I was just saying in 2020, she didn't even have the opportunity really to take the national stage during the debates and such, just because of money issues and that ending her campaign prematurely. But, she was my preferred candidate of choice, like at the top of the list. I had a couple of other people in front of Biden first, just in terms of, like a lot of people, I was ready for the next generation of Democratic politicians, a younger generation to lead us into the future. But with the outbreak of the COVID pandemic, I immediately flipped that, and Biden became my preferred candidate because I knew we were headed towards a disaster, and it was going to take a monumental effort to clean up the fucking mess left behind by the Trump administration. I was 100% correct on that. And then obviously after that, when Biden wrapped up the nomination, he said he was going to pick a black woman for his VP. And obviously, me and him must have been on the same page because, before him, my preferred candidate was Harris. And he looked at her and said, this woman's going to have what it takes. And it appears 4 years later, he's been proven correct. Now, again, the election isn't over.
I thought it was smart because, I know a lot of people were kind of rooting for Stacey Abrams to be the choice, but I thought that Harris was, I thought she was a good choice. I didn't know a whole lot about her. I know that there were a lot of things, being said about, when she was a prosecutor, she did this, she locked up black, and a bunch of things. And I had to do some real research into her. Yeah. And the more that I learned about her and
then obviously,
I really did like her. And
obviously from running in California, she had extraordinary familiarity. That was a fucking tongue twister there with the tech industry. So, you can see her contributions in the Biden administration with the CHIPS Act. I know her fingerprints were probably all over that. With the sanctions against the Chinese tech companies that kind of forced American investors and companies to come rushing back to the United States. I'm sure her hands were all over that. And, just in thinking in terms of what she was doing as the top prosecutor in California over the course of her career and how that translates to what makes her an effective candidate, it put her at the top of the list for me. And look, clearly Biden saw the same thing in her, and maybe she wasn't ready to knock it out in the presidential campaign in 2020. But like you said, that's been 4 years ago. She's got a lot more experience. The landscape's changed, and now she's ready for the job. And she's proven it here in just the course of a week. And she's up to the task.
Yeah. Well, she's shown the rest of the country in the last week what we've known for the past few years, because she's been on it. They're like, where's Kamala? Right now, she's over in Europe meeting with this person. Right now, she's in Central America working on their economic development to stop the flow of immigrants here, fleeing violence, and not saying we don't want migrants here, but the reasons that they were leaving.
Yeah. Biden gave her an insane mandate as far as her role as VP, obviously some insurmountable obstacles. But the point isn't necessarily to be able to solve those obstacles as vice president. It's to get the experience to know how you would shape legislation and an administration in the future. And obviously, look, you listening to us. When Biden picked her as VP in 2020, we all knew what the deal was. 2028, we had it marked on our calendar. It's going to be the Harris administration. And just this, unforeseeable set of circumstances that led to Biden dropping out, it didn't change anything for a lot of us. It just moved the clock up, right? We exactly. We took our 2028 plan and we're putting it into action for 2024.